Hello everyone and welcome to a new sneak peek video. Woohoo! Now, on Thursday, Wargaming released a trailer for what's coming in the future, namely the biggest overhaul of the game yet. And everyone lost their shit. And that's completely understandable because aside from everything changing and that being a scary thing on its own, there was also little to no information to go along with the trailer to explain what the actual F is happening. As some of you may know, I'm also a moderator on the official Discord server, and dealing with the fallout while knowing some of the much sought after answers but not being allowed to share them because of NDA has been a little frustrating to say the least. But because Commanders caused a much bigger uproar than Wargaming had anticipated, we actually got special permission to talk about this earlier, in the hopes to waylay some of the concerns here. I'm not entirely certain that that will work out as intended, but here we go anyway. In the back you'll see footage being looped while I'll give you a rundown mainly about the history of this, the reasons and the impact. So while it will be a very boring video to actually watch, I hope it will be good enough for you to listen to and just basically get some information. Now, I want to start with inserting two very important disclaimers from the get-go. One, the product we're seeing is far from finished. This is the ultra test, so basically everything can still change. The numbers can change, the values can change, the whole of it is subject to change. And two, my explaining and understanding why wargaming does something does not mean I agree with it, and I can't stress that enough, especially in this case. So, when the game started, way back when, in 2014, we didn't actually have crew skills at all. We had tank crew that you could upgrade for partially for credits and or fully for gold, and that was it. Then in 2015, we got crew skills. This started with a few levels, but over the years it eventually got to 7 levels, and they made it so that when you maxed out a skill, it would work for all tank classes. And this is probably where Wargaming realized that they fucked up, because this gave the veteran player that's been around for a long time and played plenty of battles, and especially gold noobs like myself that boosted set crew skills from the get-go, a huge advantage. Everything about our tanks works better than the tanks of any newbie. And on a side note, this is also the biggest reason why I've never bothered with the reroll, because you just couldn't be asked to grind that all over again and have worse tanks in the meantime. So yeah, they then started to backtrack a little, made it a little less easy to just freely upgrade your crew skills, or rather they made it more costly and more difficult. And by that time though, the OG players had already upped their crew skills completely and were just grinding XP for more crew skill levels in the future. That never came. And Wargaming held off on commenting about it when asked, because basically they went from maybe somewhere in the future to no plans for that anytime soon. And while we didn't hear anything about it for a very long time, you can basically see the gears turning here because the difference between what veterans players have and new players have was just immense. So with the move to Unreal Engine 5, the game had to be remade, quite literally, because everything has to be built and coded anew from the get-go. And this gave Wargaming an opportunity. The opportunity to revamp the game, but also to rectify some very unbalanced things, and that included the crew skill level gap between beginning players and veteran players. And this is where the commanders come in. Just to repeat here, my explaining this and understanding where they come from does not mean I agree with this. So to wargaming, this would be this new cool feature that would speak to people and solve the whole crew skills debacle in one go. And it puts everyone on an almost even playing ground. And I say almost because you can still upgrade the commanders using gold, so money. But like with crew skills, you can grind it for absolutely free too. So this falls under the pay to advance faster category. According to the information given by Wargaming, this doesn't mean that you can never buy a commander. And I want to be very careful here for obvious reasons. The exact words used are: store is a secondary way of commander distribution. You will be able to buy a commander if you miss a chance to win it in an event, etc. The reason I say that word for word is because I literally do not want people to go, but you said, in the future if things work out differently. Now, for a more practical view, commanders means that we go from 20 crew perks on all tanks to 2 crew skills per tank that are more specialized and stronger. And it is important to note that not all the old skills are completely lost, it comes back in other ways too, but that's stuff for other videos once Ultra Test starts. I'm just focusing on the commanders bit for now. You can set 1 commander per tank, and we get a bunch of commanders to start with and a bunch of resources to upgrade said commanders. The video loop has more commanders than that we start with, but as they're there I'm showing them anyway. Each commander has their own looks, personality and backstory. And when you go into the battle, the commander will not be visible. And I'm certain that this is a relief to a lot of people, that included me as well. But you will still hear their voice. And to be honest, I'm hoping that we can switch to national crew voices at some point too, because I'm not a fan of all the voices. Anyhow, if you die in battle, you do not have to wait until your tank is back before you can take a different tank using the same commander. In battle, your crew as a whole can still take damage, but if the commander is hit, your commander skills will still be working somehow. So that's good to know, I guess. I'm sure you've already seen the screens of the commanders themselves and have seen the description of the skills. Commander can be leveled up using commander XP that you grind, get from events, the store items, or straight up for gold. There's also currently a bug in this build that allows you to spend literally all your gold on a commander, with the slider being infinite, so if you do use the entity ultras, basically be careful with that. Different commanders have different max levels, and not all levels up the power level of the commander. Some levels just give rewards instead. What those rewards are, I have no idea. A commander having a higher max level does not mean it is more powerful. Wargaming says that just means that there are more intermediate rewards, as they describe it. Again, important note that the numbers aren't final, everything is still prone to change. And of course, some commanders are global, so for any tank type, and some can only be used for a specific tank type. And this is something everyone will have to think about when they pick what to use on what tank, because it literally changes your role in the game and what you can best do, basically. So that's commanders in a nutshell. There's a lot more details that I don't really want to get into, because in my opinion, there's not that important right now. It's more about the whole use of them, the whys of them, and all of that. But yeah, I understand where Wargaming is coming from with this, and their need to bridge the gap between veteran players and newbies to basically make it easier on the newbies. Do I like it? No, I dislike the idea of all my tanks performing worse in battle and missing key features of the game that I've been used to for 9 or 10 years with my maxed out crew skills. And will this help the average player slash newbie? Absolutely. It makes the advantage that the veterans players have over them by default a lot less. So another option would have been to work that into the tanks themselves. So basically upping all the tanks to include the crucials that we have right now. But to be fair, I kind of understand why they didn't do that either, because it means that you have to rebalance every single tank. And yeah, all the newbies would get better tanks as well, and we would keep our better tanks. But it would include an overhaul of all the tanks as a whole. So I kind of understand why they didn't go for that too. So yeah, I kind of get why it is happening, and that there's no real way for Wargaming to just solve it, and at least not an easy way to solve it that would make everyone happy. And I will miss my crew skills very much, and I will definitely have to get used to all my tanks all over again because of all the differences in performance when it's just a few perks instead of the 20 I'm used to and have been used to for many, many years. Quite frankly, the Reforged update will change a lot of things when it comes. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of things are good for new players and some are bad for new players, and same for veteran players. And commanders are one of the things that I'm not too keen on, but as said, I do get why Wargaming feels that they have to do this. And I understand that there will be things that will change and set us back. We will see how the ultra test goes and if the feedback from that will change things up again. But just to repeat again, this is only an ultra test. We're still far away from the full product, both production and time-wise. So it's not like us testing this upcoming week means that it will be released the week after that or some such. So when testing, please keep that in mind that it's an ultra test. And if you want anything to change, make sure that your feedback is constructive and civil. Because the moment that you start cussing or insulting people, there's a good chance that will just be written off and it will just not be heard. So while all the frustrations and emotions running high are completely understandable, it is in all our best interest that the feedback given to Wargaming, both positive and negative, is constructive and civil. So that's really it for me. Please keep the above in mind, and we will see what the future brings us together. Bye!